good of a defender? Facts or cap?
That's a fact.
Oh, Lord.
That's a fucking fact.
And what leads you to believe this?
Crazy.
I just feel like his dominance on the offensive end just took over anything he did on the court. If it came to defense, like guys like you said, Kenyon Martin, Rasheed Wallace, and all these guys who really are defensive players, I'm gonna take advice from them before I take advice from Mike when it comes to the defensive end. But that doesn't mean he didn't play defense or anything like that. I just feel like, the first person I'm going to about defense probably like Gary Payton or, guys like that. So I don't consider him like this great defensive player to me. I just think overall he's just dominant.
When we're thinking about Michael Jordan, when there's a key stop to be made, he's making it, right? Snapping back on, Karl Malone, right, to get that steal, to go win the game, right? Making the block, right? He was the actual net guy.
Okay.
As an individual guard, Pippen was a better defender on the ball.
Right.
Right? He was a better defender on the ball. Michael Jordan awareness of defense was great. A Michael Jordan wouldn't guard, right? He wouldn't guard a Kawhi Leonard, or he wouldn't guard, let's say, LeBron James if there's a Vando on the court, right? You're gonna put him on Vando, and he's
so
just
good at that.
Then he's gonna say, all right, Vando only takes 2 shots a game. I'm gonna roam. Now you have Michael Jordan roaming during the game, right? That's not what you wanted, right? So he's the one sitting there netting, coming back, snapping back, because his guy's only shooting 2 shots a game. So when he had guys like that, so why you think he makes think about when he made his first all-defensive team. It's the year Scottie Pippen comes to the game.
Okay.
Got it.
Now, he wasn't considered a defensive player until Scottie Pippen comes, because now him and Scottie Pippen can do exactly what when he's on the ball, Scottie Pippen, you follow me. Scottie Pippen, when you have the ball, I'm netting everything up, right? So they had a great system. So he's no different than like a Drew Holiday, where I'm the net guy. I'm making sure this guy don't come. What's the name? Patrick Ewing likes to go this way. I'm gonna come this way. But if you try to take him off the dribble man to man, right? That's where his exposure was when you had high-level guys. Remember, in the 80s, you didn't have 3 and D guys. You didn't have the 3-level guys where he has to guard you shooting a 3. Like, for the most part, like let's say John Starks, right? John Starks didn't dribble like that. So when John Starks pump fake, he didn't.
Some basketball takes don't just spark debate, they shake the foundation of what fans thought they knew about the game. That's exactly what happened when Brandon Jennings appeared on Deal's Arena and claimed that Michael Jordan wasn't a great defender. For anyone who grew up watching Jordan play, that statement hit differently because defense wasn't just a side note in Jordan's legacy, it was a cornerstone of it. People tend to remember the scoring titles and the clutch moments, but Jordan was just as dangerous on the defensive end as he was with the ball in his hands. He earned 9 all-defensive first-team selections and won the Defensive Player of the Year award in 1988, the same season he averaged 35 points per game and took home the MVP. Very few players in NBA history have ever dominated both ends of the court at that level simultaneously. Jordan wasn't the type to drop 40 points and coast through the defensive end. He pressured ball handlers, jumped passing lanes, blocked shots, and made life difficult for entire offenses. Stars like Clyde Drexler, Dominique Wilkins, and Karl Malone didn't just have to worry about Jordan scoring on them. They had to deal with his relentless defensive intensity every time they touched the ball. That's why so many people pushed back hard on Jennings' comment. Saying Jordan wasn't a great defender doesn't just ignore the hardware, it ignores the real impact he had on games night after night. Michael Jordan wasn't simply one of the greatest scorers the sport has ever seen. He was a complete two-way force who could take over on offense and make opponents miserable on defense. Jordan's defensive greatness wasn't built on reputation or highlight reels. It was built on years of consistent high-level performance backed by accomplishments that very few guards in NBA history can come close to matching. The evidence is right there and impossible to overlook. 9 all-defensive first-team selections and the 1988 Defensive Player of the Year award. What makes that honor particularly striking is the context. That award almost always goes to dominant big men who protect the rim, not perimeter players working on the wing. Yet Jordan shattered that expectation entirely. During that historic 1988 season, he averaged 3.2 steals and 1.6 blocks per game, all while leading the league in scoring at 35 points per contest. Let that sink in for a moment. The same player who was carrying his team's entire offense every single night was simultaneously one of the most feared and disruptive defenders in the league. That kind of two-way dominance is extraordinarily rare in professional basketball. Opponents weren't just anxious about Jordan torching them on one end. They had to stay locked in and disciplined on the other end, too, knowing he could take the ball away at any moment. And this wasn't the product of one exceptional season. Year after year, Jordan earned all defensive honors because of his instincts, his anticipation, and his ability to read and disrupt offenses before plays even developed. He seemed to process the game a step ahead of everyone else, closing passing lanes, forcing turnovers, and turning defense into an extension of his offensive aggression. Against Jordan, there was no moment to exhale because he could control the game from both ends of the floor at once. Critics sometimes point out that Scottie Pippen was the Bulls' premier perimeter defender, and there's no question that Pippen's defensive brilliance was real and significant. But that argument can miss the bigger picture. Elite defense isn't measured solely by the ability to lock down one opponent for an entire game. It's also about making the play that changes everything, the steal that ignites a run, the stop that holds a lead, the key possession that completely flips momentum. Time and time again, Michael Jordan delivered exactly those moments. Throughout his career, he consistently rose to the challenge against the league's biggest stars in the highest pressure situations. In the 1991 NBA Finals, Jordan took on the responsibility of guarding Magic Johnson during critical stretches, helping disrupt one of basketball's most gifted playmakers at a critical point in the series. In countless playoff battles, Jordan's defensive intensity became just as important to his team's success as his ability to score. Fans remember the game-winning shots, but many of his biggest victories were built on defensive plays that set those iconic moments up in the first place. One of the clearest examples came in Game 6 of the 1998 Finals, when Jordan stripped Karl Malone before pulling up for the legendary jumper that secured Chicago's sixth championship. Without that steal, one of the most celebrated plays in sports history might never have happened. Jordan's defensive impact extended well beyond championship moments, too. He routinely frustrated elite opponents, accumulated steals, blocked shots from the guard position, and converted defense into offense better than almost anyone in his era. Whether facing the bruising Detroit Pistons, battling the physical New York Knicks, or going up against the league's biggest names, Jordan consistently proved he could dominate on both ends of the floor. Exceptional scorers come around every generation, but players who can take over a game offensively while also delivering game-changing defensive plays are a completely different breed. That's what set Jordan apart from most superstars and helped build the reputation that still follows him decades later. One of the most replayed highlights in NBA history is Allen Iverson's crossover on Michael Jordan, but a single possession never tells the full story. Iverson got the moment, Jordan got the win, and that distinction defined his entire career. Jordan's defensive greatness wasn't about collecting highlights or chasing individual statistics. It was about making the right play at the right time when everything was on the line. He had a rare ability to read situations, anticipate mistakes before they happened, and strike at exactly the right moment. One steal, one block, or one critical stop could completely alter the direction of a game or an entire series. That was the true value of his defense. It wasn't spectacular on every possession, but it was absolutely devastating when it counted most. When you place Jordan alongside other all-time greats, the conversation becomes even more compelling. Kobe Bryant was an exceptional defender in his own right, earning 12 all-defensive selections and bringing an unmatched competitive edge to every game. However, even Kobe at times had to manage his defensive energy carefully, given the enormous offensive load he carried. Jordan, particularly at his peak, seemed determined to dominate both ends without any compromise. LeBron James also deserves serious recognition as one of the most versatile defenders the game has ever produced, using his size, athleticism, and basketball IQ to impact games in ways few others could. His chase-down blocks became legendary, and his ability to guard multiple positions set him apart. Still, Jordan's resume includes 9 all-defensive first-team selections and a Defensive Player of the Year award, achievements that only strengthen his case whenever defense enters the GOAT conversation. What truly separated Jordan was his mindset. Opponents didn't just worry about him dropping 40 points on them. They knew he could take over defensively at any moment, create turnovers out of nothing, and completely swing momentum in an instant. That constant two-way threat made him one of the most feared competitors the game has ever seen. Of course, Jordan benefited from playing alongside elite defenders in Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman, 2 players who helped construct one of the most dominant defensive units in NBA history. But rather than diminishing Jordan's legacy, that context only highlights just how formidable those Bulls teams really were. Jordan wasn't carried by great defenders. He was one of them, and his ability to lead on both ends of the floor remains a central reason why his defensive reputation continues to stand the test of time. Playing alongside Pippen and Rodman doesn't weaken Jordan's case. It actually strengthens it. Even with 2 of the greatest defenders in league history sharing the same roster, Jordan still earned 9 all-defensive first-team selections. That says everything about how coaches, players, and voters viewed his individual impact. Pippen was the elite perimeter stopper. Rodman was the relentless enforcer who could neutralize almost any opponent. But Jordan was consistently the player trusted to make the game-changing play when everything was on the line. He wasn't simply a piece of a great defense. He was one of the driving forces behind it. That's exactly why reducing Jordan to just a spectacular scorer misses a massive part of what made him who he was. He was a complete two-way superstar who could take over offensively while also controlling games with his defense. The same player capable of scoring 35 points could also come up with the steal, the block, or the crucial stop that sealed the victory. His defense wasn't an added bonus attached to his greatness. It was one of the primary reasons his greatness reached historic levels in the first place. During the Bulls dynasty, Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman formed what many consider one of the most dominant defensive groups ever assembled. Yet Jordan wasn't carried by those teammates. Instead, he elevated an already elite unit and consistently delivered in the moments that mattered most. His ability to impact both ends of the floor is a major reason why his name remains at the center of every GOAT conversation. For many fans, Jordan's defense remains one of the most underappreciated aspects of his career, even though it played a crucial role in building the legend that still defines basketball greatness today. What made his defense so special wasn't just the awards or the highlight reel plays. It was the fact that he delivered elite game-changing defense while simultaneously